In this video, we're going to take a look at all the Team Tactics cards that have been rotated out for Marvel Crisis Protocol and the characters that that's going to impact. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. Hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Happy Saturday. It's not often you will get a video from me on a weekend, but it is MiniStravaganza weekend. And again, whilst I was going to just do one big roundup of everything, I think that could have been a 8-hour video. So when we got the brand new tactics card rotation, I thought that was a video that was worthy unto itself, because there's some far-reaching things with this list of Team Tactics cards that have been rotated out. Couple have got replacements. One of them is definitely better than the other. But yeah, so if you don't know what we're talking about, there was a stream yesterday, so on Friday evening, at least for me in the UK, or it may have been very early hours of the morning, I can't remember which, and they talked all about Team Tactics cards. They showed us some of the new Team Tactics cards for people like Mephisto. We got to see a couple of the Apocalypse ones. We got to see a New Mutants one, which means that there is a New Mutants affiliation, or a New Mutants affiliation, which is pretty cool. But then they did share with us the list of cards that they were rotating out, coming into effect immediately, basically. So if you've got events that are happening, probably not over the next couple of weeks, because generally you've locked in your rosters a week or two beforehand. But these are cards that you should definitely be aware of, because I know for me personally, there's some cards in here that have a big impact on the way that I play the game. But overall, I am fairly happy with them. So let's jump in and let's take a look at what cards have been rotated out. Okay then guys, so as you can see, alphabetical order, we've got Advanced R&D, Aim Lackeys, Crew of the Milano, Deception, Disarm, Escort to Safety, Eyes on the Prize, Face Me, Heave Ho, Inspiring Monologue, Kick 'em While They're Down, Kunlun Training, Mark for Death, Mission Objective, No Matter the Cost, 1-2 Punch, PSD, Red Room Training, Smash, Sucker, Tactical Maneuvers, The Age of Ultron, Trip Up, Warpath, and Exceptional Healing. And you'll notice a couple in yellow there. They do have quote-unquote replacement cards. But it's fair to say that not all of these cards are equal, and not all of these cards have the same impact on the game. So what I wanted to do was break these cards down into different categories, give some reasons as to why I think they've been removed from the game, and some potential knock-on effects, and what it means for certain characters, certain affiliations in the game, because it will have a big impact on them. So let's start off then with 10 cards. 10 cards here that are all unaffiliated. They're all neutral, so they don't require a particular character, and they are all pretty meh, if I'm being brutally honest. None of these cards really see a huge amount of play. You generally don't see them in competitive play. You've got 3 cards there that are all, re-roll your dice. So Inspiring Monologue lets you re-roll Tactical Maneuvers, re-rolls Defense. Kunlun Training re-rolls Attack. A couple of movement cards there in Warpath and Face Me. Red Room Training gives you Stealth. Heave Ho lets you throw something. Sucker, take power off people. 1-2 Punch, extra dice. And then you've got PSD, that you add dice to your defense roll. These are a list of cards that, if I'm being brutally honest, guys, like I say, they see very little competitive play. And whilst you may play them yourself, and that's absolutely fine, but they really do see very little competitive play. And from what I can see, the only real reason that they're getting rid of these is AMG don't like neutral cards. They really want to move away from having lots of neutral cards. and they want tactics cards to be big team or individual character specific moments. And that's the reason that these have gone. And to be honest with you, for the most part, they are not going to be missed really one bit. Okay, let's move on then to 5 neutral cards that I think are going to be missed, and are most definitely cards that you see played in the game right now. So we've got mission objective, obviously very prevalent in a extract focused team, where you can move an asset token or a civilian from one character to another when they would be KO'd. Smash, whilst you don't see it everywhere, the big guys, so Dormammu and Sentinels and things like that, they do like taking this card. You can even argue that there's some there are some size 4 characters in the game that do like Smash as well. The Hulks. And maybe this was because of Apocalypse, but I don't feel like it is. I just think it was probably a little bit too good for those big characters. But some of those big characters do need a little something else to help them out. Marked for Death. Now, I was quite surprised at this one. I did really like this card. Whenever I had a 9th spot in a list for my team, sorry, a 10th spot in my list for team tactics cards, this one was almost always going in there. So it is a real shame that we've lost this card. Disarm, again, mitigating the offensive capability of an individual character, kind of neutered them a little bit, but I did quite like it. And then we've got Escort to Safety, which, a little bit of a more of a defensive style play. And yeah, again, of the 5, probably the one that saw the least play, but definitely saw some play. So yeah, interesting. Again, I think the overall theme here is that they want these sort of abilities to be, or these sort of cards to be big, one-time use heroes, character-based, team-based tactics cards. And yeah, I mean, or the other thing as well, and this is another thing, is these could all turn into some sort of leadership and things like that. So, maybe not exactly, but, the ability to do something like that. So, yeah, really interesting. And again, cards that I think will be sad to see leave, but also, cards like Mission Objective, cards like Disarm and Marked for Death, not necessarily feel-bad cards, but they did have a very, very big impact on the game, and maybe just AMG don't want those to be neutral. It feels like that's the route that they are going down. Okay, I want to get onto 3 cards now that I am going to call the Apocalypse tax. So what do I mean by that? Well, we've seen the card for Apocalypse, and very, very focused on dishing out conditions and getting a huge number of benefits for that, whether it's extra dice, whether it's being able to do a throw if they've already got some conditions. So we've got 3 cards here, starting off with Kick 'em while they're down. Spend 2 power, choose an enemy character, you get to reroll 1 attack die for each special condition that character has. Well, when you've got a affiliation and an individual character that is built around conditions, this kind of makes sense, because I could have seen this being used and abused to great effect, especially when it's all of your characters, and not just one. Choose an enemy character. When targeting the chosen character with an attack this round, allied characters reroll 1 attack die for each special condition. Yeah, when you're dishing out a lot, that can be absolutely brutal. We've then got Trip Up. This is a card that doesn't really see any play, but this is something that lets you spend a couple of power. You damage, you target them with an attack, and then if they suffer damage, they get stun and stagger. And again, I think that layering on top of what's already possible with Apocalypse and with everybody else that he's bringing, this would have been a little bit too much. And then rounding it out, guys, Crew of the Milano. When I was looking at the Thanos card, I was like, Guardians are in a really good spot against these guys. But yes, that wouldn't seem to not be the case. Weirdly, I had a few people messaging me like, "Oh, Crew of the Milano's gone," because I used to be a fairly Guardians main. I never played Crew of the Milano, or rarely took it. It always made my list, but it rarely made my squad. But yeah, spend a power, remove all special conditions, and you cannot suffer anymore. It's a pretty good card. It was only getting better with some of the announcements that we've seen. So yeah, no real surprise there in terms of what we expected from that. And I think it's fine. Guardians have got access to plenty of other cards that are thematic. So yeah, don't think it really mattered too much on that one. Okay, next up, let's call this one the Wolverine tax. Now, not just Wolverine, but really any character with healing factor. And this one's pretty huge. This one is pretty huge. So exceptional healing has gone, which is massive. Which is absolutely massive. Exceptional healing played or had such a big impact on the game because it did two things. It did the actual things that it had on the card, but what it also did was charge a bit of a mental tax for your opponent, because if they knew you had exceptional healing up, did they really want to spend all of their power on their big spender that they had, or a combination of different things? No, probably not. I think it's sad because I did like this card. I thought it was thematic. It was maybe a little bit too good, but it was a very, very, very good card, and it has been replaced. So it has been replaced with another card called Instant Recovery. This is not a very good card. So Instant Recovery, when an allied character with the healing factor superpower suffers one or more damage from an enemy effect, after the effect is resolved, it may spend 3 power. If it does, remove 2 damage from this card. Now, thing to note here is this is after damage has been dealt. If you've already been dazed or KO'd by that damage, then this has no impact whatsoever. 3 power for 2 health is pretty rubbish, if I'm being brutally honest. It's just not good at all. So they've really broken this. This card will never see play. It is pretty pointless. Maybe they could have changed the way that exceptional healing worked, so that it was, damage reduction. You mitigated 2 damage or something like that. It wasn't, mitigate all damage but 1. And I think that would have been much, much better. But yeah, not the case. Exceptional healing is dead. Instant recovery is not a viable replacement, and it's a card that, as I say, will not see play in competitive games because it's just not good enough at all and costs far too much for what you get. Maybe if it was 3 and you got to recover all of your damage, or 5 of your damage, or something like that, then it may have been worth it. But recovering 2, just isn't enough. It's not impactful enough in the game to stop that second attack being able to go through. So yeah, really, really not good enough for me. And then the other side of, let's call it the Wolverine tax, no matter the cost, has gone from the game or has been rotated out of the game. Basically, the premise of this card: you suffered 1 to 3 damage, and then you reduce the cost of the next attack that you make. Yeah, this was a widely used card with characters like Wolverine, where you can healing factor back that damage that you take, so you're effectively getting free power. I really liked it. I thought it worked and synergized really well. You can also use it on some Hail Marys, but yes, it is no more. So what does that do for Wolverine in particular? I'm not sure. I think what a lot of these cards do overall is they neuter the turn 1 plays. But as the game goes on, then it's absolutely fine. But yeah, Wolverine has definitely gone down in stock quite a bit after these changes. Okay, let's move on to 2 character cards now. So 2 character specific cards that have been rotated out. First one, Aim Lackeys. Not a card that sees a lot of play. I used to play it a lot when I was playing Cabal with the original MODOK, because I really liked it. I thought it was really good. But yeah, not a card that saw a lot of play. Maybe there's a reason, in coming up in the future as to why this card has gone. But yeah, it's not there anymore. It's not going to have a big impact, I don't think. What is going to have a big impact is the Age of Ultron. Yes, Age of Ultron is no more. No more bringing back your Ultron, either the OG or the new version. This is huge. This is really, really big for Ultron. And of course, it knocks him down significantly in terms of his viability and what he's going to be able to do on the battlefield. Time will tell as to whether that is a graveyard now, for sending the new Ultron to the graveyard. I still think he's a pretty good character, but obviously having Age of Ultron just made him that much better. Like I say, time will tell, but I still think we'll see him played potentially in affiliation. I think what you'll find is that he won't be splashed everywhere like he was before. He was a big splash piece, and yeah, I just don't think you're going to see him anymore splashed outside of affiliation, which is sad. Last character card then, or last character specific card, is going to be Deception. Now this one is no surprise, because Deception had gone from being a standard card, then it was a restricted card, and now it's been rotated out. And I think that's fine. I do think that's absolutely fine. And whilst you didn't see a huge amount of play once it was put into restricted, you didn't see Mystique everywhere like you did before, so it did kind of fix the issue. But it has been rotated out, and it has been replaced. It has been replaced with Stolen Identity. So let's have a quick read through this, see what it does. Mystique may play this card, that's identical. Choose an enemy character, and this is the big difference, without an activated token within 4 of this character. So that's the real big change here. So what impact does that have on the game? Well, what it means is that if you move up to a middle point, and remember, eyes on the prize, spoiler alert, eyes on the prize has gone as well. Not spoiler because we went through it before, but you move up to a middle point and Mystique would just walk up and then move you into her back half. Everyone would murder you and take whatever you picked up. Now, now she can't do that. So it makes going into the middle of the board that much safer. Thanos still exists, so it's not that safe, but yeah, it makes it that much safer. I think this is a good trade-off, and it just means that this card isn't going to be something that you see everywhere, and it isn't going to be just like the turn one play, or the round one play that you see all of the time. It means you're not going to have to play around it too much. I can't see this card being stapled to Mystique in the same way that Deception was. And I think it does definitely drop her stock. But I think the card is absolutely fine, still has its uses, and we'll probably see a little bit of play, just nowhere near as much. Let's talk then about what I think for the overarching impact on the game are definitely the big two, and that is Eyes on the Prize and Advanced R&D. This changes, whereas the other ones move things ever so slightly. An individual character goes up or down in stock. These two cards being rotated out have a much wider ripple effect on what the current quote-unquote meta is at the moment. And it does quite a few things. Let's start with Eyes on the Prize. So for anyone that doesn't know, Eyes on the Prize, the idea being you could have a character that was on a medium base, they had a medium move, and as long as they could have 2 power, they can play this at the start of their turn, and then they have enough power to be able to go and pick up an object at the middle of the board and then get back to safety, to avoid things like Mystique's Deception and Thanos and yada yada yada. That's no longer possible now. So your characters, all of your characters that were medium base, medium move, and you could get a power into, so whether that was Bill, who just had it natively, whether that was somebody like Ronan under the Inhumans, that has all gone, that has all changed. Not possible now to do that. So it does lower, the first one that will spring to mind for people is Bill. It does lower the stock of a character like Bill. But that wasn't the only thing that Bill did. Bill was still, Bill is still a very, very good character. And we also have to remember that going to the middle of the board now is less scary than it was before, because of losing things like Deception, like Face Me, things like that. So yeah, really interesting. What it does do is increase the stock immensely of those medium base long move characters. Your ASMs, your Angelas, their stock has just gone through the roof, because all of a sudden they are your turn one opening plays now, to go and do the safe extract play, because they don't need Eyes on the Prize, because they can already reach the middle point. And in the case of Angela, she generates 2 power herself per turn anyway, so can very, very easily go and pick up a point and then come back and interact with something else. So yeah, really interesting. Advanced R&D. This is a card that I've generally built rosters around over the past sort of 2 or 3 years, where we get characters into our rosters and you can turn things on round 1 that otherwise you couldn't. This has huge impacts across the game. Think about the number of characters who have access to a charge, access to a character throw, access to a tactics card, that now they can't use because Advanced R&D doesn't exist, or it still exists but has been rotated out of the game. So this has huge ripple effects. There's going to be affiliations that not necessarily struggle now, but will definitely be hampered. I think about Winter Guard, and being able to enable those turn one things and getting a little bit of an advantage early doors. But we will see, right? We will absolutely see whether or not, it will have an impact on the game, but we'll see what impact it has on the game. Will it raise those other characters, all those other affiliations that can do the power thing now, even higher? So, your Inhumans of the world, right, where you can, still dish the power out. Wongs who can dish the power out. Dare I say it, Hellfire Club, who have the ability to dish power out as well. Or maybe this becomes the resurgence of something like Magneto's Brotherhood, right? It's really difficult to tell, but I think I would have liked this card to have stayed in the game. I think I would have liked it to maybe just had a little bit of a change up. So maybe you spend 3 power and you can give 2 other characters a power or something like that. So there was actually a cost to play the card, because other than the opportunity cost, there wasn't really a cost, right? Because you spent power, but you gave power to other people. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what impact this will have on the game, and it will be far-reaching. Like I say, of all the cards that have been rotated out, for me at least, these are the 2 that are the farthest reaching and will have the biggest impact on defining how the game is played, at least competitively, over the next 12 months or so. And there we go, guys. There is also an errated team tactics card document as well that does change a few wordings on there. A couple of cards have been made a little bit better. In fact, let's jump over and let's take a quick look at that as well. So as I say, a lot of these are sort of slight wording changes, but some of the cards have been changed to be slightly better, or in some cases slightly worse. Cloning banks, for example, in the power phase, you now remove the sample tokens, so you can effectively get somebody earlier, which is better than it was. Probably doesn't make the card any better than it was, really. A little bit of verbiage change on First of the Black Order. I haven't gone through all of these yet and looked at every single difference. One of the ones I did notice, or these 3 actually here, are quite significant. So Ironbound Books no longer includes grunts, so they've turned off the grunt mechanic for Convocation, which is really good. Daughters of Thanos is now eventually 1 power. This is absolutely going in my list when I play Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a robbery, has been increased from 3 power up to 4 power. So it still does exactly the same thing. It just means that you're not going to be able to advance R&D a power into Rhino and pretty much guarantee that he can do that turn 1, which is nice. Online and operational has been reduced. I think it's been halved in cost. I think it was 8 power before. It's now only 4. So again, making it much better. So yeah, go and take a look at these ones. Obviously, then we've got the other two new cards in there as well. I will say, and I will give props to AMG for this. They are pretty good at making these print and play, right? So you can, anyone can just go and take them straight away, and you don't actually need to go and buy the packs either. But yeah, guys, there we go. We're going to leave it there. Let me know what you think. Big changes to the game. It's crazy how removing, let's forget everything else but removing 2 tactics cards, Eyes on the Prize and Advanced R&D, is going to completely change the landscape of the game. And guys, whilst you may have built a lot of things around it in the past, may have been your favourite way to play it, change is good, right? It keeps the game from becoming stagnant, right? All I see this as is this is now a new challenge to work out how we can do things in the game. And I think overall it will make the game healthier, and it will make sure that players are making decisions on the battlefield rather than those turn 0 decisions, which I'm a big fan of, and I also know AMG are a big fan of as well. So we're going to leave it there, guys. Usual shout out thanks to everyone, especially all of the Patreons. You really do help. And if you want to become a Patreon supporter, you can do so from as little as £1 a month. Link down in the description below, or you can become a YouTube member. But as always, you don't need to do either of those things. Just simply liking, commenting, subscribing really does help. Big shout out to Leodis Games, sponsor of the channel. You'll find a link down in the description below for discount off your first order. Check out the Discord. You know, our next event for MCP is going to be very interesting, which will be happening probably back end of August, beginning of September. So if you want to be part of that, go and check that out. And as always, guys, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.